Welcome back. In his latest read titled Sandman, Simon Humphreys takes the reader on a collection of 18 unrelated, witty and insightful short stories. The book reveals Humphreys' effortless use of language and humor to capture the true essence of events and characters in his tales. He joins me from our Seapoint studios now to talk about the book. Simon, thank you very much for joining me. Maybe let's get into it very, very quickly for the benefit of our viewers. What is Sandman about? Different stories here.
Yeah, good morning, Sam. I think you summarised it there. It's a collection of unrelated short stories, some of them very dark and depressing, I'm afraid. And as it says on the back page, it's sort of guaranteed to cure the clinically cheerful. So it's a mixture of stories, really.
Okay, yeah, you've got to define that for us. What do you mean, cure the clinically cheerful? What does that mean?
Well, it's basically just a play on words insofar as it is quite a depressing bunch of stories. So don't expect to pick it up and have a jolly good read and come away with a light heart, because some of them deal with issues such as cancer, kidnapping. There's a story set in rural Africa where a mother has a child kidnapped. So it deals with a lot of truths, and some of them quite hard to deal with. So we warn people on the back cover, really.
Talk to me about this name Sandman, because, you know, if you ever think of the Sandman, you think of somebody putting you to sleep, generally horror movies, that kind of stuff. Did you have to go to a dark place to come up with that name?
Well, actually, I was inspired by a walk on Noordhoek Beach one morning when I saw a solitary set of footprints, and they seemed to disappear off into the sea. And obviously somebody had taken a walk there and the tide had come in and washed half the footprints away. And it just sort of led me to think of, who was responsible for those footprints, and maybe they took a walk into the sea. That was what inspired the story Sandman. And my daughter did the cover of the book, which I think has come out quite well. And those are the footprints that we saw.
It's mainly fiction, but there's one non-fiction story. Talk to me about that.
There are a couple of light-hearted ones. There was one where, going back to my days in the UK, where I played cricket, a friend of mine, after some fairly heavy drinking, I think one evening, we decided to go around and brick up the front door of our first team captain's house. He had a porch and a sort of open doorway, and his daughter came down in the morning to get the Sunday paper and the milk. She went upstairs and said, "Daddy, there's a wall in our door." He wasn't very impressed, and he actually called the police, but that's probably what the only light-hearted story in the book.
Talk to me about the challenge of writing different stories, because when you put a collection of short stories together, I can only imagine it's not an easy process.
Well, the reason I got into it, there are quite a lot of short story competitions out there, and having had a sort of 70,000-80,000 rand manuscript fall at the last hurdle of publishing, I thought it was probably less painful to have 2,000 or 3,000 words rejected. So on that premise, I started entering these short stories around the world. I had a couple published in the UK, and then Raging Aardvark in Australia, small indie publishing company, like the one that I entered in their Twisted Tales 2015, and asked if I had some more. So I think it's quite a good way to get into writing for anyone who's interested.
But the South African reader, I mean, the way they view short stories as opposed to a novel is quite interesting, because there's a real craft in writing a short story and contextualizing it. But I don't think or maybe I'm speaking from a very layman's perspective, but I don't think South African audiences really appreciate short stories.
I don't know. I've been told it's quite a difficult genre to break into. Hopefully it's turning around, but I enjoy writing them, so I hope people enjoy reading them.
You started off by saying that, this is it's quite depressing, quite dark. Is this a reflection of where you are, or did you just want to kind of take a break from writing lighthearted stuff?
No, I'd love to be able to write humour, Bill Bryson, Tom Sharp, that sort of stuff. I would just love to. I just write what comes naturally and easily. And I don't think humour is easy to write, and I don't think it's easy to get right. So I've tried, and it just didn't work. So I just write what comes naturally.
But there's a formula to writing kind of dark, depressing stories. What is your formula?
I don't know. They sort of come the darkest of the early hours of the morning. You're lying awake, and an idea comes to you, and I find that quite often I start writing without a story, and it just evolves. You plant the seed. There's one called 6 Bar, and it was. I just imagined an interview room in a police station, and from that came a story about a sort of drug smuggler who was set up, and it just sort of evolves. I don't know if I've got a formula, or if I have, I probably can't explain what it is.
Simon, the book is available. We want people to go out and buy it. Do you think we want people to go and give it as a Christmas or a New Year's gift? Where can people get it?
Well, it's Copper Birch have picked it up. They're the distributors. I know it's in a lot of exclusive books. Best bookshops should have it, and if they haven't, they can probably get it for you.
Simon Humphreys, thank you very much for joining me. Hopefully people will go out and get it. It's depressing, according to Simon. It's supposed to cure the clinically happy. So go and get the book. It's really interesting book.